Population structures are one of the most important things in shaping how an economy does, how well a country does, whether it survives, whether it thrives. Demographics are about how population structures stack up. The normal program it looks a little bit like a pyramid with very few retirees at the top and a lot of children down below and everyone stacked up in between. And when you have a normal demographic, it's going to be relatively inflationary. Now, once you get to roughly age 40, 42, 65, the kids are moving out, the house has been paid down, and you're in the process of preparing for your retirement. And so your expenses might not be all that much because usually your last kid leaves by the time you're 50 and your house is paid down by the time you're 55 and you're saving for retirement and your income is the highest it will ever be. And in that sort of environment, you're not consuming very much, but you have, wow, lots of money. And that's a different economic model because you literally have decades of experience behind you. You're a very productive worker, but you're not buying all that much. So all of that money goes into the system. And then after you turn 65, you retire. Now that's a normal pyramid, but it's all about the stuff at the bottom that drives it because that's the biggest chunk of the population. Well, what we have seen in the days of industrialization and urbanization, especially after World War II, child mortality has dropped almost to zero. It used to be that upwards of half of all kids died before age 5. At the same time, health has improved, and so people are living longer. And so this pyramid, as the children have survived and people have lived longer, it's opened up and it's become kind of a chimney. And for most modern economic systems, this has been what has defined us for the last 70 years. So in a chimneyed economic model, you have about the same number of children versus young adults versus mature adults. And that gives you a balanced economic structure that we're all familiar with because it's all what we've been living through. But historically speaking, it's relatively atypical. So inflation is broadly under control because there are still a lot of young people. As it starts to open up into that pyramid, you start getting into, in the early stages, some of those advanced industrialized countries like India or Turkey or Brazil or Mexico, but also some of the developed world who has managed to keep their birth rate relatively stable despite all the other changes. And the United States and France fall into that category. Once it gets open like this, now you're talking Germany, Italy, Korea, even Thailand. The problem we're going to be facing this decade, because we have always known we were going to get here, the problem this decade is the countries that are like this, it's not like their birth rate has increased. There's no longer enough people to have children. And now it's not just that the 50s are a big block. That big block keeps going up. And we now move into the 60s. And so what we're looking at across the world, advanced and developing countries, is the top bit is now moving into retirement. And we do not have an economic model for what a system looks like where there's no consumption or production.